And I think we're live. So welcome to everybody out there. This is Life Change Lounge with my dog who's chasing his tail as we speak, because that's what lives do. And we got a special guest, our last guest of the year. Oh, wow. How's it feel to cap off the year?
It feels pretty.
Look at Rocky trying to tell you like,
pretty sensational, like Rocky's spinning around. Pretty good. Nah, man, if we're gonna do something, make a statement. So I'm glad to be here, man.
You are making a statement. You better make a statement because that's why I asked you to come. So I'm Sal Ortiz. For those of you who are joining us or will join us and watch this at some point, and talk to us. This is Life Change Lounge, where we take real life stories, real life people, and we interview them and just talk about the life change moments that they have experienced and how that can inspire and encourage other people out there to live out and walk out their life change moments as well. So no pressure at all.
None at all. I don't feel it.
We're gonna go for an hour. We're gonna take questions on the screen there. So if you're watching live and you want to chat, go into the chat. Put a question in there, and I'll try to pepper Marcus with as many questions as possible. Turn this down so I can make sure that I can read them here. And just hit them with the questions. And if you watch later on, send the questions later. You can email us the questions at lifechangeinstitute@gmail.com or follow us and hit us up on any one of the socials, and we'll make sure we get the questions to Marcus. And that's how we do it, Small. Are you ready?
Let's go.
This ain't the first time you've been on camera with me.
No, it is not.
Yeah, he did a Real People, Real Talk, which is on our Meridian channel. So
That's right.
I'd like to introduce y'all to Marcus, the Honorable Reverend Dr. William Marcus Small, LCSW.
It's a mouthful.
Have you used that title yet?
A little bit. So people try to get cute with me at work.
Yo, that smile is precious, and y'all hear why? Because the Honorable Reverend Dr. William Marcus Small has been working at this for a few years and finally got the license, got the 4 letters that I call the Navy SEALs of clinical work. And he's just done big things. So this man has pastored churches, gotten clinical degrees, gotten doctorates, hosted marital conferences, been seen all over, met the presidents, been all over. Like, is there something you haven't done?
Yeah, I haven't done this podcast.
Exactly.
I haven't done this, so I'm ready for it.
So
let me say this real quick.
Yeah,
though.
please.
I am extremely grateful to all those who are viewing and those who are watching and who will watch. I'm saying this publicly to you. I am ever so grateful for the relationship and the connection, your wisdom. You all understand. I don't have to tell you guys. This is one of the premier mental health professionals in the 757. He is a gift to the Hampton Roads community, and he has been an outstanding supervisor to me. He's been an outstanding friend and an outstanding brother, and I would not have made it this far without his insight and his help, and I am grateful, and I'm thankful for you, man. I'm almost kind of confused tonight as why he even asked me. I'm trying to figure out, from Obi-Wan Kenobi, what else I can get, So I hope I just don't embarrass myself.
There's no embarrassment, and I'll tell you, like, to make people of color blush, I mean, that's a hardcore task. So it's been an honor and a pleasure. So thank you. It was my honor to be able to guide you through as much of the journey as I could. I can't wait for you to shine, brother. I can't wait for you to shine.
Well, look, I mean, we don't talk about him much nowadays because he's in trouble. But Diddy does say we might as well shine together.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, careful with your references there, right?
Right. But it's a good line, though.
I think it's still a quotable. Like, you could be in trouble with a quotable. You're allowed to be. Right. I mean, that's okay. So, look, man, we only have 2 scripted questions on this podcast. And so the first is your life change moment, and then at the end, I'll ask you what it means. Other than that, let's just see where the conversation goes.
Let's do it, man.
So you've been through a lot of things, and you've done a lot of things. Why did I ask you? I asked you because I think that you walk a real life and a real journey between real life stuff of like kind of real world issues and being a scholar and a man of excellence in so many areas too, and to kind of walk that both and still relate to people on a common level is huge. So for you, Small, your life change moment. What are we going to talk about tonight? What was your life change moment that you want to kind of pick on out of all the many life change stuff that you've been through.
Yeah. I thought a lot about this question. I watched this show previously, and so I kind of knew this was coming. So I guess to say my life change moment was, I guess, the moment when I really kind of understood my purpose in what it was I felt like I was supposed to be doing. I was kind of just a little background. I was kind of an aimless kid. Didn't get excited about too much. I enjoy TV. Television was my
Yo,
best
there's
friend.
not a movie this dude doesn't know.
I mean, I've always
Like,
been
for
that
real,
guy.
for real.
I've always been that guy. So if I use movie references or references tonight,
Yo, what I do with hip hop, you do with movie lines. You're like, bro, you don't remember that one?
No doubt. So I, but there wasn't really much that excited me. School, I liked to learn. I didn't like school very much. I tell young people all the time, I wasn't a great student in grammar school, middle, high school, all that kind of stuff. And I knew I could learn. I knew I liked to learn, but I didn't discipline myself in learning, which hurt me later on when I got to college and I had to, kind of learn and figure out my learning style. So I always encourage young people to say, listen, man, y'all, get the fundamentals, get your basics, so you can build on that later on. But when I got to college, man, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to go to law school like my father did, and I was interested in how people thought. I was interested in psychology. I knew that on some level, and I had a, shall we call a life change. I had a life change, and I got into wrestling with ministry and got caught up in that tension. And once I really finally accepted that, once I got to the point where I was like,
accepting ministry or accepting,
no doubt, because it was such a thing for me from the stereotypical idea, right? I didn't want, I know your viewers are multicultural, but in terms of the African-American experience, I didn't want to be that minister that had a suit and tie on every day. I didn't want to be that guy who, talked like he was 60 years old at 25. I didn't want to have anything else to talk about with the church. I wanted to have life. I wanted to live and experience life and have life experiences. And in my wrestling, in my tension with coming to grips with, this is the journey and the path I was going to take. I had to get good with the spot that I wasn't being pulled into this direction to be like somebody else, but I was being pulled in this direction because of who I was. Right.
You were walking into what you were meant to be.
Right.
It's funny because like our line is transforming lives to what they were meant to be. Right. Like you were really just walking it out.
Right.
And just stepping more into it.
Yeah. I mean, he can tell you, I'm a jokester. I like to have fun. I like to laugh. I love movies. I love people. I love to experience people and engage with people. And I'm a fraternity member. I was the first guy there at the party. I was the last guy to leave. And I felt all of the pressures from the system to be something else. Right. And I was like, well, how can I? And I didn't want to live a duplicitous kind of life. So the journey was, how do I live authentically? And so I had to get to a place where, I felt the divine kind of telling me and showing me, there's a certain type of person you're going to connect to. Absolutely. There's a type of person you're going to do ministry with. There's a type of person that's going to relate to you. Absolutely. And that was refreshing at the moment. But you have to also understand that there's also a tension with that, right? Because everybody doesn't, because there are people who operate in forms, right, and in boxes. Right. So then they begin to look at you like, well, you're not really. Right. You're not really authentic. Right.
And the challenges that come with the form and with all those things, because just because it was, spelled out for you just because it was identified to you doesn't mean that it was like the whole path was spelled out.
Oh no, absolutely.
Right? The journey was
absolutely
a hell of a ride, right?
Oh my God. I told myself, almost, it's around 23, 24 years old.
That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 6-7 months ago. I was telling myself, I said, when I was 24, I said, if I can, all right, let me, I told, in my communication with God, I was like, okay, all right, God, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go to seminary, and I'm going to learn, I'll learn, but then I'm going to get a PhD in psychology. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go teach people. I'm going to work in a seminary and teach people how to pastor, which is hilarious now that I look back on it, right? It's like I wasn't going to do it, but I was going to teach people how to do it. So, but, I got married, I started to have children and all of those things. And how you're going to eat becomes a major decision maker in how you do things.
You're like, I know I planned this.
Right, I had all these plans, but my kid is hungry. So how do I work this out? Right? And rent is due. So the path kind of went. So I said, okay, well, look, if I could pastor what would be considered a healthy church, if I could write a couple of books, if I could do some teaching, at a university, and if I could have a healthy practice of mental health counseling or something like that, I would have done well. And at 52, I'm just crossing the bridge.
Took a few
years. Right.
Took just a few years.
But the road has been great, and the road has been good. There's just been some places where I've had to make.
But wait, look. So like at 25, that was like the conversation with God, right? And then it takes 27 years to walk it out, Abraham. Right.
Right.
I feel like that's what I should call you.
Right.
Like looking at it, you thought did you think it was going to happen that quick? And looking back at that journey, were you like, oh, is that all? Or like, I'm finally here? Like, is there appreciate, like, where are you at?
Of course I thought it was going to happen easily. Of course I thought it was going to happen like that. I thought it was going to be simple. I thought I'd dot every I, cross every T. I'm not saying this to long arm myself. I have a couple of degrees. I've got a few degrees. And I got a few degrees, not because I just wanted to keep going back to school. It's because people kept telling me, well, if you get this, then you'll be able to test for licensure and you'll be able to do this with the state. And so I kept getting these degrees and the state kept saying, no, that's not enough.
You said I took 2 steps forward. Why do I feel like it's
right? And they kept saying, well, no, that's not enough. You need this, you need this. So I finally went to a program and said, okay, you have everything I need so they can't turn me away. But so it's been about mistakes, right? It's been about mistakes. It's been about bumps in the road. It's been about different things. And now what I've come to discover is that now that I am at the place where I've crossed this hurdle, I've made this achievement, it feels, there are different things I see. Right. So now there are different things to accomplish. There are different things to do. So yeah, it's ongoing.
And like the mistakes, and this is funny because like some of the missteps that we take aren't intentional, but these are not intentional mistakes, but they were well-intentioned mistakes. Right. Like they were ones that you thought were the right steps.
Absolutely.
Any one of those. So here's the thing, Small. Like any one of those could have either stopped you in your place or made you turn around or made you quit the endeavor. 27 years of a journey, of an endeavor for that.
Right.
With any one of those well-intentioned mistakes, why not quit? Like what kept you going through them? So part of what helps a lot of people in listening to these is listening to the perseverance portion of it. Why'd you keep pushing? 27 years.
Because I'm going to use a technical term because I worked hard for it. Because it was incredibly ego-systemic. And what that means is
he learned that from studying for this.
Right, exactly. It was ego-systemic. So, and what that means is my level of over-functioning and my level of insecurity to be good enough always motivated me to keep trying and keep doing and keep going and keep going. And so, yeah, it's an issue, or let's call it a tick of Marcus's life. Right, let's call it a tick. But it served me well in the
brought
sense
you
of
to
never
this
to give
place.
up and never push. So
Yeah.
it was kind of about using the crutch to get me to the place where
Using
I wanted to go.
using the missteps to your advantage, right?
Right.
All those sort of
Right.
things.
It was definitely, well, I got to prove that I can do this. I got to prove that, this works. I got to prove, a lot of it was, well, some of it, not a lot, but some of it was for my children. I wanted them to see a never give up kind of spirit and a resilient spirit. Some of it was job security, to be quite honest. I didn't want to be beholden to the church only. I wanted to have something else to do. So if one day, the church said, "Hey, we don't want you to be the pastor anymore," right, I had something I could hang a shingle up and make.
But it's funny because like the job security thing that comes with working in a faith profession says that God will only give me security in this profession, right? He don't give you. I can tell you for a fact, walking this out, that there's no security in the clinical profession, right?
Right.
So, like, that's interesting that you invested in your future, you invested in you. That's funny, but that there's security in this. I mean, like, what are the securities that you got from following through with these plans that you had at 25, with these plans that you had through your life, from ministry to clinical work to licensure, those sort of things? What is the security that you found in this? The confirmations?
Yeah, I think, well, you have to kind of know church life and church politics and how that operates. And, one day if I decide to, because, we have very interesting conversations. I'm what's called a pretty progressive theologian. I have pretty progressive ideas.
Yo, right? When your pastor friend tells you you're more evangelical than he is, I'm like, bro, aren't you a pastor?
Right.
I'm just a therapist on the street.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love God. I love Jesus. But, me and Paul, we wrestle with some things. Sometimes the women, I got some ideas. And, I'm one of those dudes. I have firm LGBTQ communities. I do those kinds of things. So those things in a conservative world can be kind of dangerous.
They can ruffle some
right.
So
they can be kind of dangerous. Right. So if one day, the congregation says, well, hey, we don't feel like you being a pastor anyway because we feel our views are going a different way. I can say, okay, well, look, let me look around and see if I can find a jail. I can be a mental professional or whatever. So in that regard, it's not like colleagues that I have who may have issues with churches or they decide it's time to move on and they're running around preaching for rent. You know what I mean? Right. So I'm in a different kind of spot.
It's very strategic and very intentional. Yeah. Now I gotta share this with everybody. I gotta share this part. Okay. Because our clinical journey would almost never cross paths. Right. You remember that, right? One of the fun things about my and Small's journey is that he interned with me at a jail we used to be at. Right. And I almost never picked him up.
I know. See? It's always the one you don't think. Listen, let me tell you guys.
Yo, I didn't know I didn't know then what I know now.
Sit up. I want to sit up. It's always the one you sleep on, right? It's always the one you sleep on that's the most loyal. He almost passed on me. Watch this. Bro. Mr. I love Jesus guy. Yo. Almost passed up on the pastor.
Why? Tell him why.
Because he thought I was going to be too concerned. Isn't that funny?
Yo, we was in a jail and I had somebody lined up. And they said, he didn't work out. And so they said, well, we got this one guy. He's a pastor. And I was like, man, I don't know about this one. So I put him through the interview. I gave him the business. I'm trying to put the feelers out there or whatever.
He was incredibly, he was incredibly honest. He was like, I'm going to tell you right now, I've had some reservations about you being a clergy person. And I was like, word? I was like, nah, dude, I'm not that guy.
Yo, he took me out back and challenged me to a fight in the schoolyard. I was like, bro, it's okay. It's okay.
Man, but you see, I'm just saying, be resilient. You never know.
Yo,
so sometimes you're reminded. True.
I mean, big time. And I think that hopefully, I mean, that was one of many small challenges I would say that you've had, but it was more confirmation for you to keep pursuing this work and keep growing in this clinical work. Because you've grown to not, you've always had a love for it, but you've grown in your appreciation and the love for this work, and especially what you're about to do, because you just got some letters that you're about to now use in the next chapter, right?
Absolutely.
So like that was just an interesting time.
Yeah, man. Listen, I think one of the things that I talk about, one, understand that my philosophy in regards to what it is I do, they're really kindred spirits, right?
I think so.
I've always said for a long time that social work and / mental health and ministry are kissing cousins. I always thought that, social work is just the secular side of what ministers do or try to do. And so to have those tools and be better prepared, I thought was essential anyway. And so one of the things I teach, though, and I think I get this from my dad, I think I get this from my father, good, bad, or different, that ego sustaining thing again, that, life is going to be difficult. Life is going to bring challenges. And so it's not that challenges don't come, but it's how do you face the challenges when they show up.
Absolutely.
And so that's always kind of been, how do we do this? How do I show?
So how do you answer people's questions as a man, as not even just a man of faith, as a man who works in ministry and works now clinically? When people come to you with real life problems, when they come to you with their stuff and they say, "Yo, here it is," and they present it to you, I think that oftentimes one of the misconceptions is that when you're somebody of faith or when you're working in it, and especially, you're only going to answer from, this verse and chapter says this and this and this. Yeah. How do you answer? How do you address real world issues with the faith part of it and the clinical side? Like, does one win over the other? Do you have to put one on pause? Do they? Because you said they work hand in hand. So.
Yeah. It is for me. For me, it's a very well. How do I say this? I've always been a very secular spiritualist anyway. I'm unapologetically so. I've always been a very tangible theologian. So for me, it's not about the ethereal. It's not about over spiritualized idea. Now we can talk spirit and we can talk about how the spirit moves, but for me, it's what happens after. When our feet hit the ground, and what do we do with that, and how do we make this live, and how do we make that work for us? And so, and I think very, very honestly, I think that's one of the things that helps us connect, because as important as your spirituality is, it is not masked or clouded by the fact that we have to live each and every day. Absolutely. And I think that we live in a world now where people are trying to figure out how to live and how to exist. But they recognize some spiritual sense about it. Right. So I think we have to, the church, I think, people of faith have to be much more in tune with that.
Yeah, I think that there's Old Testament scripture that says, like, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news, right? Of the gospel, right? But that good news is not just of that message, but in the manner of which we bring it, in our calling, in our giftedness, in what we were already given. Right. And so being able to bring a message of hope, forgiveness, resilience, whatever it is, through the tools that I was given and the gifts that I was given, this clinical work, is exactly the perfect marriage of being able to bring the good news, right? And we got to be those feet that kind of walk it out. Right. I think that's how it plays out.
And it speaks to what boxing fans call the beautiful game, right? Because it speaks to the art and to the science, right? So it's this very, very interesting piece. I had a professor who told this story about him being a young seminarian and trying to teach a Bible study one time, and he was just too heady, and people kind of dismissed and kind of got turned off by him, and a lady came up to him after the thing and said, God is going to do great things with you. She said, but if you want me to drink your water, you got to bring it in a cup I recognize. And I think that is one of the things I've always tried to do. How do we bring both the mental health and the psychological and the psycho-spiritual to people in a dish, in a cup, in a plate that they recognize and are willing to digest? And I think people appreciate that at the end of the day.
I think so. Here's the other part. Like, when you talk, that hits home in so many levels, because what we know about this, what most lay people even know, is that there's not a lot of men, let alone men of color, who do this side of the work. Right. So how do you bring it in a cup that you'll recognize when we, as in certain communities of color don't pursue this clinical stuff. Now you're in that cup, bringing that information, bringing that help, bringing that support.
Right.
So that cup, man, that's a very recognizable thing, not just out of the pulpit and out of bringing the word of God, but it's also in this clinical work.
Right.
You are a rarity.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. I want to say this. I want to say this in this, right? You're talking to me, Marcus Small, on the other side, and this is important, on the other side of victory. This man can tell you the last 3 years on the other side of the victory.
Trying to approach victory.
I don't think this is going to work. I don't think I'm going to. Right. So there were definitely moments of frustration, definitely moments of fatigue, definitely moments of unassuredness. I got no problem saying I took this test 3 times before I passed it.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there were struggles. There was not always a confidence. There is now on the other side an appreciation, what you're hearing. But yeah, I do take great pride and appreciation in being able, particularly as a man, African American male, to be able to speak several languages.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? He's bilingual, but I'm talking about speaking several languages. I am excited about bringing healthy, responsible mental health knowledge to a community that does not always receive or understand how they navigate and how they handle mental health issues or not handle them. So
or to see somebody that would excel in an industry that is female dominated, is, you know, white dominated, is dominated by others other than ourselves, right? So now you give sort of something for people to look up to and pursue. Right. And I think that's a role model. I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to do it with excellence. Because I think there's one thing to say that there's many have gotten different titles and letters.
For sure.
Right. But me and you joke about doing the living color version of this work. Right. Right. I thought that's why you were laughing, because, you know, we talk all the time about Damon Wayans and
welcome to Two Black Social Workers. I mean, we just gonna blow it out. You know,
that's the next podcast.
Right. Welcome to Two Black Social Workers.
But
what do you mean? What's wrong with you?
You know, or using 4-syllable words that aren't words, right?
Right.
I could call it Keith Murray in this thing, right? Like the most beautifulest thing, right? But you are bringing excellence, and you are bringing, you know, an image of something that people then can aspire to, and I think that says a lot. You know, I think it calls forward people who are going to pursue, you know, getting help from you. Yeah, something that says, hey, step your game up, because it wasn't easy to get here, and now we're here, and now we're going to maintain and keep it here.
But it is important to, and again, I'm not blowing brother man smoke. It's important to have gate openers like you and other folks to say, yo, they tried to keep it from me, but I pushed it, I knocked it over. You can do it. It's important to have people, and for you guys to tell the next group, yo, do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Kick the door open, wave the 4-4. You know what I mean? And you know, keep
in the wise words, right?
Right.
Because we often think that it has to fit a certain, like, this is what we talk about. We talk about it in our industry. We talk about it in a lot of different circles, professions, about the imposter syndrome, right? But we feel like imposters. If we can't do it like such and such, or be dressed like, built like, talk like so-and-so, then we're not doing this work right. And so, like you said, like, we open certain doors in certain ways. I said, yo, you could do it this way, and then some in your own spin. And that gave you the freedom to be you. You know, I think that's huge for us as leaders, as huge for us as outspoken sort of individuals in the community, to say you can be you. Right. Just do it with excellence and bring the best that you have to what you do.
Yeah. Find your models, yo. Find your, like, literally find your models. Like, say, listen, I want to be an engineer. Find the model. You know what I mean? And when I was starting out in ministry, I was an executive pastor. I was an assistant, and the relationship wasn't, you know, as healthy as it needed to be. And so when I got called to the first church that I served in New Jersey, I was like, yo, there's a lot of stuff I know, but there's a lot of stuff I want to know. And I would invite, you know, preachers and pastors
Yes.
with years of experience. And at lunch, before they did a workshop for me or before they preached for me,
Yes.
I was picking their brain.
Yes.
Tell me how you do this. Tell me how you did it. Find people that you want to model,
Right.
and do not hesitate. You do yourself a disservice if you don't take the risk to say, listen,
Ask a question.
I'm ask a question. I'm trying to be where you are. I'm trying. How do I get there?
Yeah.
Some people will be like, yo, get out my face. Some people will BS you and say, I don't have time, or they'll wrap their arm around you and say, sure, and won't have time. But there'll always be one or two who will give you that guidance, who give you so pick it, find it, and move out.
And it's got to bring balance to some of the other models that we do have. We look at a culture, we look at different things. I mean, we're both hip hop heads, right? And we look at even a culture within hip hop, let alone anything else, that has so many perceivably negative models, right? Like, can we provide a balance in a world that has so many seemingly heavily one-sided models of maybe negativity or nihilism, right? Where we can provide hope and opportunity, and I'm okay with that. Like if I was called to bring balance to an order, then cool.
Right. Yeah.
Now, how do you feel being a model? Was that one of the titles you wanted?
Nah,
Marcus Small,
definitely
the model,
not, bro.
model Marcus Small.
Definitely not. I mean, some stuff comes with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost like fame, right? Some stuff comes with it.
No,
some stuff is good. Some stuff that's not as exciting, but there's still a responsibility with it. And I was fortunate enough to, in the church world and in that profession, to have people who thought a little bit of me to say, hey, well, how do you do this? So I've had mentored and kind of done that. So I've kind of been down that road. And experiences are amazing because, like I mentioned before, I didn't have the best relationship with when I was working as an assistant to kind of learn what I should. I have a propensity to help people because I wasn't helped like that. So I have a propensity to reach out to mentor much more for people.
But and not just this culture, many cultures do this, right? But we always look at our next generations to say, I'll make sure that it's better for them than it was for me in some way, shape, or form, whether financially, physically, whatever it was. Right. So like you said, like I didn't get it before, but I want to make sure somebody else has what I didn't have before. Right. And that's a natural sort of occurrence. That's a natural progression of providing information. Look at Rocky coming to say hi to you.
This is big Rocky.
It's a natural progression of being able to provide an opportunity.
Right.
So I think that's important, man. Look, it's 7:35. We're more than halfway through already because time flies when you have fun.
We do.
Listen, if you got questions, make sure you drop them in here or send them to us later. We're on Life Change Lives with Marcus Small, and I want to ask you. That's the front end, right? Like the life change moment in terms of building into this sort of 27-year growth and this and that. Now it's sort of like, now what? Because like we see, like, and you can look at that in scripture, you can look and see like once the promise was delivered, right? Then we see like the now what. So the promise was delivered. It took you a few times to take this exam. You made me feel better about it. Thank you. Whew, I thought I was a failure. Thank you.
It was definitely not.
But you're here.
Right.
And so then it's the now what.
Right.
And so maybe this speaks to, because this is fun. It's interesting to me, Small, sitting with a man, a grown man that I respect, a man of color that I respect, and asking for his hopes and dreams. Right? Because you get to an arrival of a place that was promised and was given. So now what? What are the hopes and dreams? What is the conversation with God like? Or what are the hopes and dreams? Because I think that what we don't hear a lot, and it's not termed as masculine, is men that dream.
Right.
That's a really, really hard thing to find in men, in a culture of men, let alone men of color.
Right. People of color are challenged in dreaming, right? Because there's so much to survive, right? It takes a lot of energy to survive, right? So I don't have time to dream because I got to survive.
I got it.
So you have that tension. But in this, if I can use this, in this Advent season, this Christmas time where we are expecting from the Christian calendar the coming of the good news, right? That is Jesus Christ, this Advent, this coming of the good news, this anticipation. What we have to recognize is there is always the responsibility when the good news comes. There's always the responsibility of stewardship. Right? So whatever we are being gifted or whatever we've been blessed with, we have a responsibility to take care of.
Right. You can't just hoard it. You can't just keep it. You
Right.
can't keep it under a basket, right? As that's what it says. You can't hide this. You have to do something.
Right. I gotta nurture it. I gotta engage in it. I have to work it, right? I have to do that in that way. And so so the dream is, okay, well, how does this look? How does this look in terms of how we move forward? How does this look in terms of, how we put it together? Right. I believe that mental health, wellness, African American, Black people of color, mental health is essential for the African American community, for healing of years of trauma and different things that need to take place. And so I'm honored to have that responsibility to figure out how to help and contribute to that healing in so many different ways. And so there's a stewardship that comes with it. There's a responsibility that we carry, and we have to engage in it. And all of us have it. All of us have it. And all of us have it. We've run into, you use the word nihilism, we've run into this culture that looks to take so much without returning or giving back. And it's cyclical. It's our responsibility to pour back in. Right. That's why we're killing the ecological system. But that's a whole other conversation. Right? Because we're join us for the next one. Back in.
But here's the thing. Like, again, in a world, in a system, in a society where you're not going to change the entire tides. Right now, we have professional men of color who are providing opportunity and growth and giving back. Right, like you're not changing a tide. But so, do you feel like, is it worth it if you feel like you're not changing an entire tide? You're making an impact still?
Oh no, yeah. So quick story.
It ain't gonna be quick. I'm gonna tell you right
now.
now.
I am a black preacher. I am a black preacher, so
bro.
But
y'all said
this will be quick. So I'm in the jail. I do work at
in the jail. Explain that.
I'm not in the jail. I work at the jail. I always have to explain that. Here's a man of color. I'm not in the jail. I'm at the jail. So I'm working at the jail, and there's a guy who I've helped for months. Everything he needed, everything he reached out for, small, I need, small, they not letting me. I would advocate for him. I go to the leadership. I go with people all the time. So he's having a bad day. He's in crisis, office beds, call it what you want. And he's coming at me. Small, you don't do nothing for me. I ain't never. And I'm like, yo, me? That's how we coming. That's how we doing it today. Right. I said, for me? I'm not doing nothing for you? Nah, man, you won't help me, man. You with like the rest of me going on. I'm on fire. I'm really upset.
Today was the day, right?
And the way I said fire in my Jersey accent, that's how I was feeling that day. I was on fire. I was really hot. And so the next day, a couple of days later, I'm going through the drive-through of a restaurant, and the dude says, yo, Mr. Small. He dropped. I look, and it's a dude. He's like, yo, you remember me? And I was like, nah. He was like, I was in jail, and you helped me get my stuff together. You got my meds. I was like, okay, all right. I said, yeah, man. So how you making out? He's like, I'm trying to do good. You say I have a plan. I got a plan. I'm trying to do good or whatever. And I was like, all right. So he was like, so the lady brought my food. So he came up. He gave me a pound. He's like, yo, man, thanks for helping me in there. Appreciate it. I was like, you got it, man. You got it. So I pull off, reach in the bag, and I got a cookie. I ain't gonna front. I cried a little bit because dude inside is telling me,
you ain't nothing.
Right. But this guy outside is saying, yo, nah, you really helped me get through that, and I'm really trying to do something different. So there are moments of victory.
Absolutely.
There are moments of victory that we have to pick out. We can't get wrapped up and say, well, because I tried this and it didn't work, or because I tried this and it's still pending, or it's still happening, that, I'm a failure. There are personal victories that happen, and we have to, people you help in mental health, people who do appreciate it, people who are, literally hanging on the end of the road. Absolutely. And, and they say, yo, I just need somebody to tie this knot. You know what I mean? So it doesn't always look like we want it to look, but it's not real.
And being somebody that can provide hope.
Right.
Just to be able to provide something to hold on to.
Right.
And I think it's funny because I love hearing it. And I know that's happened. I mean, obviously you've lived life, but there's still so many more to come. of opportunities or stories where you'll be like, yep, I remember this time when this happened. I remember this time. And I think that those are the stories that we have to hand down. Yeah, my dog is losing his mind because he's way overtired.
I'm just
he's chewing on his foot right now.
impressed that he keeps running his head against the wall.
I mean, you see the side of his head, right? Like you see the size of the hole in the desk right now. But these are the stories that balance all the other stories, right? We could talk about the war stories, like when we talk about recovery, we talk about war stories, but we talk about these stories of hope, of opportunity, of blessing, of being able to say, yo, this one time, this is what happened, this was cool. And those stories are just as powerful as these ones with a negative connotation. Rocky's really getting that tail.
He's
I mean, it's distracting. Like
no fun.
Maybe. So those stories of opportunity and hope, and it's not that that's the prayer that you have, but again, you have an opportunity to impact communities of color, communities of certain cultures or whatever. What is still left to kind of pursue? Like, what would you like to pursue with these things? Again, what are the dreams that you have? We don't speak about them. You're right. We come from a place of survival, but now you're in a position of dreaming. And I don't want to sell people on a false bill of goods of dreaming just to be fanciful and sort of escapist about it.
Right.
What do you dream about that you can see pursuing because it's falling in line with this sort of progression?
Yeah, well, dreams without plans is just the road to frustration, right? So you got to have plans. So that's not mine. That's Denzel.
Give it to Denzel.
I saw it on a video today.
Of course you did, because it was a movie.
It was on television. But one of the dreams is to operate and facilitate a mental health facility. Mm-hmm. I have started a small psychoeducation.
Pun intended.
A small psychoeducation organization called Liberation Network. And it looks to empower and generate a sense of healing and wholeness for individuals. I'm trying to find ways to incorporate the mental health dynamic into ministry where I serve, trying to talk about what a group home looks like, trying to look at what community services can look like in a particular community. So there are still things happening. I'm still interested in writing. I do have a book out, Becoming Married, Staying Married. It's a guide for African-American couples. I've done that. I'm still doing some teaching. I've been very, very fortunate to teach at the university level, some adjunct positions. So I'm trying to do, I thought I told you that we won't stop again. I went back to that guy.
You went back to him?
I know
you quoted him twice in one interview?
He's not good, Brad. I mean, his image ain't really.
I think you trying to raise funds for
I know. He's on his own. For real. But he really did some really inspirational quotes. So I just keep grinding, man, and just trying to find. And here's the other side to the dream: be open to the adjustment. You got to be open to the adjustment of the dream. If you're too rigid, to the dream, you can.
And I think the journey leading up to has taught you that, right? Like so this was the vision played out. So now, boom, 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 but it wasn't rigid.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I really didn't think about it till you just pointed it out. The journey has been such that you've had to be flexible. That you had to kind of work it out and be flexible on so many different.
Pardon me while I grab my dog.
So be willing to be flexible. Be willing to be operate in those particular spaces. Be willing to operate in those times in which you hear and trust and listen to that voice that tells you to navigate and to be healthy in the process.
Be flexible.
Right. Grow you. Right. And you grow in all that other kind of things. It is most important to grow yourself.
So look, we got one that came in. This one's deeply personal. Because this is from my mom. Right?
Okay.
Shout out to Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes, Mrs. Ortiz, mama.
She said, "Hola to Marcus. It's good to see him again. How do you balance pastor, mental health work, jail discipleship, and staying focused and involved with his family?" And she wants a book. And she wants an autograph.
Ma gets it. Ma gets whatever she wants.
She figured if she asks you on camera live, you're going to have to say yes.
Yes. I am not even fronting. I will work that out. I think I got one in the car for you.
But that's the real question, Small, because when we talk about, like, I know I look at it from an entrepreneurial side of balance, and there is no such thing. Like, how do you find balance with the many different callings, with the many different professions or opportunities, and be able to have balance in all that.
That's probably a part of, and let me say this, it's probably a part of why it took so long.
Mm-hmm.
Because, being a parent and being engaged in that stuff made me put some stuff on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably a part of what took so long.
You're saying God had like a 12-year plan and you extended even his plan?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I was like, let me hurry up, go back to school, grab these credentials so I can go to the next level. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, well, let me go here, right? Because I was listening to somebody that didn't know what they were talking about, and I did that, and they were like, "Yeah, that's not really what it is." And then I was like, "Okay, well then let me hurry up and do this," and it was like, "Yeah, that's not really what it is." Yep. So, people didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So I found myself listening, and that's why I say listen to the people around you. So, and at the same time, I'm going to soccer games, I'm going to baseball, I'm going to recitals, I'm going to choir. Yep. I'm trying to be that guy, because even in that ministry, I was very cognizant in ministry that it wasn't going to consume me to the point where my kids resented or disliked the church. Now I don't know how well that worked.
So listen, fam, y'all gonna have to let me know on the side if there's any resentment that built up.
Right. I don't know how well that worked. But it was always, I always made it a point, and a lot of this is attributed to my wife. Seriously, because she would always tell me what was happening, and even she expected me to be there. Right. So there was a lot of back and forth to the church. So I would say, okay, well, I got to be back, y'all, because I'm going to do such and such. So I would go, like I said, to baseball. I'd go Saturdays, and I'd go and, my daughter's choir and stuff in school. So I would be at stuff. And I think when it started to slow down, that's when I was like, okay, how do I get this done? How do I knock this out? And because I was always researching, I was always Googling, PhDs in counseling. I was always Googling something. Yep. So it always stayed in the forefront. But that was important. And now that my kids are older, I have to say I have adult children. You're gonna love it one day when you say that. I have adult.
I got children that swear they adult.
Right. That's all different. I have adult children. And so they're living their lives. They're doing their thing. So now I can really dream and stretch out and whatever. Right. And we're kind of in the empty nest space. So my wife is like, "We come back, when I'm gonna come back, and we'll hook up and let's go to dinner." And we're winging it. So it's a different kind of feeling.
But look, for balance too, here's what I was thinking when I saw that question. Was that, and what you said was kind of something like along. Sometimes it's dependent on us to know our balance point, right? Like we have to get grounded, we have to get low, we have to do whatever. Sure. But it took an outside sort of source, almost like balancing a tire, right? Balancing something you couldn't see that you were out of balance, right? Given the certain rotation, given the certain continued sort of going ons of life, you needed eyes from outside that were reliable and trustworthy and intimate that can tell you where you were out of balance to get it right back in line. Right.
And that, eyes or a spirit that didn't care if I was out of balance or not. The expectation was, this is what you're gonna be, right? And so, I just kind of
this was never about your balance. Right. You need to be here at this time.
You will be. Your son has.
But you tell me nothing about
you
balance.
Will be.
You balance yourself all the way over there.
Right. This is going on at the high school, and you will be there. I'll be like, okay, well, I guess I'll be there. So there was always a work from my wife's perspective, definitely, to make sure that I was not, missing too much or get too crazy. Right. And so I say this very honestly, I'm incredibly indebted and grateful for her for doing that, even though it didn't feel like it made sense at the time. I get it. I grew up, my dad wasn't at a lot of my stuff. And it wasn't a willingness. He worked an hour away, right? So from where we lived. So it was that kind of thing. So for me, I was like, well, I don't need to be at everything because I don't want them to be dependent and not be able to function if I'm not there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was so there were places of tension, you know, that worked through. But I think that I have asked my children. So I'm not, you know.
It's not just you assuming and making up a
right. I've asked them. I say, listen, were there places where you wanted me and I fell short or whatever? And they were both very honest and said, no, you know, you know, there were issues about church and church people and all those kind of dynamics, but it was never about my presence involved in their lives.
But I think that that's huge, Small, because like we can go on the assumption that we're doing it right because we're doing it the way we were told or the way we perceive, the way we think. It's the willingness, the humility that someone has to ask active in-person questions in the moment and try to pursue change in the process, to constantly stay focused and say, I mean, that's humble. Right.
There's a thing in therapy, Salem, called, you know, the stages of change. And
look at him.
we wrestle with pre-contemplation and contemplation, right? To where if we're running so well in our lives, are running like a well-oiled machine, if somebody says, hey, this isn't really working, pre-contemplation says, well, there's nothing wrong.
I ain't even see a problem.
It's everybody else. It's not me. And it really does take some things to see how out of whack they can be. Now, as parents, we only know how to do what we do. And so we got to, you know, sometimes, you know, there's a tension where we have to recognize later, I really messed that up.
And own it.
And own it. And our children have to realize, they were really doing the best they wanted to do.
Right.
And it wasn't malicious.
Right. So it provides some grace and forgiveness.
Yeah. It's a balance in it.
No doubt.
And but I think that makes for better adulting, right? Because the only thing that really puts your parents' lives in perspective, this is for all of you millennials and younger people who are listening. The only thing that will put your parents' lives in perspective is to go out and live your own. And then you will soon understand some of the choices and decisions, right, wrong, or indifferent. Not saying you agree with all of them, but you'll say, I can get it. Because life teaches you.
And one better, to really make you the excellent person that with a graceful heart that you were meant to be, is you fighting the urge constantly to be like, I told you so. Right? Fight the I told you so moments, because I don't think I told you so has ever helped.
You're a small parent.
Right.
You're a small parent. You're a petty parent. You're a petty parent. You're a petty parent.
You're such a petty parent.
I told you. I tried to do it. Don't be a petty parent.
Oh, God. Look, we only got a few minutes left, and so I want to be able to ask you the other formed question. This is Life Change Lounge. Got Marcus Small here. I know y'all are going to listen to this, and there's so many nuggets that you're dropping in all this. I hope that people come back and just listen to it and just really
check it out.
Nuggets, bro, nuggets. So look,
it will be a part 2.
Promise? Y'all hear it first?
Yeah, you heard it first.
You heard it here first, bro.
Part 2, 2024.
Part 2. What is this, like a DJ type of mixtape? Like, this is part 2. Right. Listen, so the second question of it, and I don't want to miss it, and I don't want to miss an opportunity also for you to be able to shout out and say thanks to all the people who helped you, kind of elevate you, push you through this journey. But to me, life change, positive life change, right? To Marcus Small, the Honorable Reverend Dr. You can't see what I do. There's so many daggone titles. It's just saying,
really do it.
To me, positive life change means what?
Positive life change means the ability to change, to adjust. Life is, like I said, about adjustments and knowing how to make those adjustments. What that requires is that you have to know where you are, know who you are, be willing to forgive yourself, and be willing to forgive other people around you. To operate in spaces of real change, to where growth is seen. You gotta be willing to know yourself. You gotta be willing to forgive yourself. You gotta be willing to forgive other people. It's essential. And because we hold on to so much, and our inner child desires to keep things. We want people to acknowledge what was done,
And
acknowledge
the struggle,
right, and our pain.
Right.
Acknowledge our pain. Acknowledge that you hurt me, right? And after I think after we declare it, right, voice it. I was hurt by that. If the person never says sorry,
right,
we still got to forgive ourselves,
right,
and we have to be able to move on. We have to recognize the changes
and adjust accordingly, like you said. So you have to be willing to adjust, knowing that was never acknowledged or never addressed or didn't come out the way you wanted it to. Right. How do you adjust and continue to move forward?
Heal. It is important for individuals to heal and understand the significance of healing, because if you don't, we just walk around wounded, and hurt people hurt other people.
No doubt.
And then we just keep repeating cycles everywhere we go. So it's about life change is about that, man. For real.
I love it. That was perfect. I mean, that was to the point.
I mean, I that all day.
You see what all that cramming did for this test?
Just like a test.
Yo, so talk to me about, this is the shameless plug portion, right? Where you get to plug both the things that you're doing. You talked about Liberation Network, right? You talked a little bit about that, but talk about the plugs, right? Like the things that you're involved in where you're walking this out now. Now that we've gotten to this point in the journey, that you're walking this out, so providing impact, talk about the people that impacted you and the shout outs and the thank yous, right? Because I'm not naive enough to think that everybody watching now, but I know that one day people are going to come across and be like, oh, yo, who is this, right? He said that. Right, so I want you, I think that it's always a blessing to see somebody acknowledge out loud somebody who has impacted us or things that have impacted us. So
yeah. Well, I think to answer your first question, I think those places are still being revealed. The places where I want to be planted and where things are moving.
Meaning, I told him come work at my practice, and his birthday.
No. But we about that life. So it's on record. It's about that life.
There's gonna be a part 2, y'all. We're gonna talk about that part 2.
I'm a dude that kind of. I told y'all.
Listen, I'm gonna tell him when we had the real conversation. We talking after the exam, and he says, "Bro, I didn't realize there'd be this many options." I said, "Did not try to tell you."
Nah, man.
He said, "I didn't know there were gonna be this many options."
There are obligations.
Options are obligations. You call them the O that you want, but the fact that you have opportunities,
right,
for all these options is
I'm
great.
down though. But I'm down for real. So I'm trying to figure out how to balance.
No doubt.
That's what I'm trying to figure out how to balance. But so those things will be still being revealed. I'm down. I'm down with Life Change. I'm down with Meridian. I didn't get jumped in. This isn't the set. I'm gonna use some West Coast. This ain't the set I got jumped in, but I ride with them every now and then.
Oh man, so, listen, it ain't where you from, it's where you're at. The wise words of the Prophet Rock Kid, right?
So I'm grateful for all of the people and staff at Tidewater Pastoral Counseling Services under the direction of Marty Phillips. They were for real. They took me in and let me do mental health stuff and work when I wasn't yet licensed, when I was trying to figure it out. I'm grateful to, of course, this man here. I've already said it 100 times, Brother Saulo, and all of those folks who are here, man. And I don't want to call it names and forget somebody, but this is a very Meridian, for those of you watching and paying attention, Life Change Institute, Meridian Psychotherapy is a family of people who really are committed to mental health work and services. And if you are looking for a place to grow and develop, this is a place that you really want to do to get emotionally well. And you can ask for me sooner or later.
That's right. Start a waiting list.
Right. I'm grateful to the people, eternally grateful to the people of New Calvary Baptist Church for their love and support and their patience. I had some wonderful assistants. Reverend Dr. Byron Harris, who is now gone. He helped me. Sallow coached me through my wounds for about 3 months with that. He was essential to really helping me juggle a lot of different things.
But just watching too, the pure joy at New Calvary of them, the joy they in their faces and in their hearts to watch you excel, and achieve. Yeah, man, that was cool.
Yeah, it's a heck, man. It's a heck. I started to say hell of a place. It's a heck of a place. it's a heaven of a place.
It's a heaven of a place for all y'all.
Calvary Baptist Church in Norfolk, Virginia. Grateful. Grateful for, and I don't say this apologetically, I'm grateful for the ancestors, man. Grateful for my grandfather, Ernest Brown. Grateful for William Small, Sr., and those, Lucille Small and those who went before and planted seeds that they did not, and they knew they would not see these fruits grow. So I'm grateful for them investing. Grateful for my pops, my mom, who prayed when they were really, really nervous and they were really afraid about what was taking place. And last but not least, man, for real, I am grateful for my wife, man, my ride, man. She's been 27 in, man. Lady Cassandra Small, man. She's my people.
You want to know who to pray for?
Yeah.
Now she's
yeah. She is evidence that prayer works. She's evidence. She's got a great testimony. But for her and my children, for Taylor and Malcolm, for the stuff that I look to leave behind them, I'm really grateful for them. To friends and fraternity brothers and people who just kept saying, keep pushing and keep going. And the word is, man, you can, bro. You can do it, my sister, my brother. You can do it. You can make it happen. Just believe in yourself and allow the grace of the divine to work with you. It'll blow your mind for real.
Man, I love that. That is perfect. As a gift from here it is. As a gift from Life Change.
Is this the one the Rocky was chewing on?
No, this is the other one.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because we have another slogan that we say here, but I am life change.
Yeah, I'm with it, man. I am life change.
And so I want you to recognize that you are life change.
Thank you, man. I'm gonna really cram myself. He set goals for me. He set goals.
Bro, I've been inviting them to the gym. I've been inviting. Yo, tell me why every time I call this brother.
Yeah, large. Oh yeah, I got work to do.
I gotta say Schmedium in my bad. This man, I'm telling you right here, like when I tell you, I want people to see what real life change embodies and what it looks like. It doesn't have to be huge leaps and bounds. It could just be the things that we're facing in everyday life and the real life people and the real life heroes that we see. That's what the purpose was of life change. That was the purpose of being able to meet real people like you. I love that you get to be an inspiration and a story of victory and continued victory for others as they look up to you. I pray that people tune into this and that they look around and they say, what are these two clowns doing and talking about? And that from this they take, I can go after what I need to and what I want to, what I'm called to do. And you embody that. So on behalf of Life Change, on behalf of Meridian, on behalf of the folks that have watched and will watch, thank you, Marcus Small, for being about life change.
Stay peace. I appreciate it, man. No doubt. And listen, this dude right here, whatever he's putting up, whatever he's putting on the blog, whatever he's putting on his Wednesday inspirations, check it out. This cat is wise beyond his years, man. He's a young whippersnapper. He's got a lot of great.
Look at this, man. Listen, if I get another Black Santa Claus reference, man, I thank my children for this.
What I'm saying? It works. Man, I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. So much love and thank you, brother, for everything. This has been Life Change Lounge. Y'all take it easy. We are out.
Peace.